So, start of the Challenger match with map 1 currently underway, which is going to be Half Pipe by Kisna. Fastest lap courtesy of Grenady with a 112.509 to the clock, as we're going to be heading back to the Helicam for the start of this map, with everybody remaining grouped as of CP number 2. Currently, Razi and Mimo Jr. at the tail end of the field, with Chalik and Link leading the field at the moment, with the field starting to spread out a little bit before they're heading into the first platform turn, as we're heading into that set platform turn right now. Platform jump, sorry, with the dirt turn. Hydra had a really wide line through there, so the MTP Esport driver is going to fall back towards the rear end of the field, with currently Miquatro and Dark battling it out fiercely for the lead alongside Default. Super Kaluf, oh, we had a mistake from Dark and Mimo Jr. as well. Dark forced to respawn multiple times, and Link as well, so we're already seeing quite a few people down, and we're already down to a 12 car leading field at the moment, with Chalik, Mada, and Miquatro 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Everybody clearing the jump pretty nicely here. Razi towards the tail end of the field, battling now with Zerar for P10 at the moment, with Hugo having made a huge mistake down to P12 in the space of a few corners. Carl battling with Mudda and Grenady in first place at the moment. Miquatro and Mudda completing the top 5 with Binks in hot pursuit. So yeah, everything still remains hotly contested as we head onto the identity for the first time in this step. Ooh, nice and low line from Cap, who's gonna climb back to the top 5, albeit temporarily. The second jump wasn't particularly that fruitful, and heading into the far start finish line, Mudda takes the lead with the 127.144 to his credit. Default and Binks second and third. Carl and Miquatro fourth and fifth, with Cap in sixth. Chalik and Razi seventh and eighth at the moment. The Auto World drivers second and eighth at the moment. Not too bad, with Dark being the only one that's not performing great at the moment. 6 seconds down on the leader in P13 after those huge mistakes. Grenady down into P10 after such a strong after a pretty strong seeding session. He currently finds himself towards the bottom half of the field. Thankfully, this is stage 1, where no points lost is incurred for the bottom 8, so he needs to take this opportunity to bankroll as many points as he can in the bag. Razi and Chalik battling for P7, with just ahead of him. Ooh, Cap going a bit too wide and touching a bit on the wall on the outside of the dirt, but it seems as though he got away with it, as he remains in contention for the top positions at the moment. Mudda, Binks, and Default 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Carl clearing the jump, no wheels clipping towards the end of the dirt block, so no speed loss whatsoever. Meanwhile, Legu seems to have made a mistake. The newest recruit from 1x Esport, Xerar's team, unfortunately is way down in last position, with Mimo Jr. up ahead, and he clips the wheels as he lands at the other side of the dirt jump. Identity for the second time for the leaders, with Binks having taken the lead from Mudda. The Australian trying to catch back the Team Exalti driver. Ooh, but Default out of nowhere with so much speed will get past both of them and move through to the lead with a 122.912. We're 4/10 away from the lap record that was set by Grenady on step 1 actually, which wasn't beaten in step 2. Binks in P2, Mudda P3, Cap and Razi battling for P4, with Carl just behind them. Miquatro and Chalik battling for the top 8, with Zerar and Grenady battling it out for 9th at the moment. As we're heading back to the Helicam to see how the gaps have developed, you can see that Mimo Jr. has fallen even further down than Legu, who's managed to overtake Hugo, who made a mistake. So Legu up into P14, Link down in P13, not looking good for our top 8 driver from Team Exalti at the moment. Meanwhile, Default, Mudda, and Bing still a huge battle for the top 3 positions at the moment. Miquatro up into 4th place. Actually, Carl had messed up at the jump. He's down into P10, so already one of the top 8 contenders out of the contention for the lead, currently held by Default from Team Outer World. Everybody clearing the jump in the top 6 nicely through, and Zerar in the top 8, getting a little bit left behind, 2.2 seconds down on Mudda at the moment. Mudda battling it out really closely here with Default for the lead, with Binks in 3rd place, a little bit further behind, and then further behind, fighting for 4th position, Miquatro and Chalik. As we're heading into the identity, Binks tries to catch up as much as he can to, through the identity with Default, but it doesn't seem to be paying its fruits, as Mudda has overtaken Default into the identity. Mudda taking the lead, heading into lap 4 with the 122.562, still the fastest lap of the race for the Australian. The Belgian from Team Auto World, being Default, currently sitting in the middle of that sandwich comprised of Mudda and Binks. Half a second down on Mudda, 3/10 up on Binks at the moment, who's trying to catch him back up as soon as he can. Meanwhile, towards those that have fallen, Carl is down in P10 behind Grenady, who's taking the opportunity to move up to P9, and he catches back up to Zerar for P8, and Zerar has quite a bit of a gap to to make up to Miquatro in P7. So Miquatro has a bit of a buffer to the bottom 8 at the moment, if he so desires. Meanwhile, Mutta looking good. Oh, Binks though has we saw in the overhead cam has had a bit of a rocky time in the dirt, and he has lost out quite a bit to Cialek, who moves into 3rd place at the expense of the Team Exalti driver. Oh, Cialek though will get overtaken automatically with that poor landing from the Frenchman, and Cap also overtaking into P4, so Cialek demoted to P5, and also we had Razi, who's made a mistake apparently at the dip section, and so he is down in P10, promoting Carl into P8, and most importantly, Xeron up into P6, and Grenady as well in the fight for P6 at the moment. The eSport wavy player still looking to fight tough against Xeron and put the 1-up on the Frenchman. Meanwhile, Dofalt and Binks battling it out really fiercely here. Dofalt having the advantage over Binks for P2 in the identity. Mutta, meanwhile, heading into the penultimate lap of race 1 into the lead with 0.7 of a second of a gap between himself and Dofalt in 2nd place, with Binks in P3. Binks still holding on nicely, 122.591 for Grenady in lap 4. He was the fastest man on lap 4. That's around a 10th away from the lap record on halfpipe, which we saw by himself on step 1. Grenady back up to P5 as we saw some other people faltered down by the wayside. Zerar and Carl taking advantage of that sketchy platform jump from Grenady to move through into P5 and P6 respectively. Cap into P4. Meanwhile, some of the big contenders of the overall rankings, such as Link and Miquatro are currently down in P13. So yeah, it's not looking good. Razi trying to catch back up and trying to do a bit of damage limitation here on this opening map, battling with Dark for P9 as we're heading into back to the lead with Mutta, Dofalt, and Binks 1, 2, 3. Cap a bit further behind than he would like to be, 1.1 second down on 3rd place to Binks at the moment. He's 1.9 seconds, even 2 seconds down on Mutta, currently leading the race. Then he's got quite a bit of a gap, 2.3 seconds down, or 3.3 seconds down, should I say, to Zerar in P5 and Carl in P6. Zerar's first appearance in the top 16 is looking to be actually a pretty decent performance from the newly recruited 1x player, as we're heading into the final lap with Mutta and Dofalt in 1 and 2, who's managed to open up the gap to Binks in 3rd place. Binks is down 0.6 on Dofalt, as Dofalt is just 0.3 behind, even less than 0.2 behind Mutta in the lead. Cap in P4 trying to catch back up to Binks. He's 0.8 down on the Team Exalti player at the moment, but he's going to be looking to get that gap back into a somewhat normal, within striking distance, should I say, with 5.7 seconds of between the leader and Zerar. So, oh, actually Zerar touching a bit on the pole on the inside. Will he be able to clear the jump? Yes, he will, but that should potentially allow Cialek to move back up into contention, as Dark has made a bit of a mistake, as well as Super Carlouf. What happened to the 2006 World Champion? I didn't catch that on camera, and he's down in P12 behind Link, who moved up to P11 thanks to this mistake, and Miquatro into P10. Razi back up into the top 8 for the time being. Mutta and Dofalt 1 and 2, with Binks in 3 and Cap in P4, as we're heading into the identity for the final time in this first race, and for the final time on halfpipe. This is the final time we're going to see this map in a regular season rotation on the Open Grand League, just like the Trackmania Grand League. So heading back with Binks currently sitting in P3. Mutta going for the safe identity. Dofalt a bit not as speedy as Binks. Binks much faster than the Belgian, moving up into P2, and Mutta taking the win. Actually, Dofalt with the final jump takes the 2nd place back from Binks. Mutta, Dofalt, and Binks 1, 2, 3. Cap finishing in 4th place. Grenady moving back up to P5 in the last second, finishing in front of Zerar. Cialek and Razi completing the top 8. Dark 9th, Miquatro P10. Link will finish in P11, actually not quite. Yes, he will finish in P11, fending off the late charge from Super Carlo, finishing in P12. Hydra in 13th, Hugo de Sauvin in 14th, then Legu will be finishing in P15. A bit of a baptism of fire for the 1x esport player, and then P16 for Mimo Jr., last place for the player. So 20 points, 22 points in fact for Mutta, as he takes the race win and the fastest lap. The Australian off to a good start after map 1. 14 points for Dofalt in 2nd place, Binks 3rd with 12 points, Cap 4th with 10 points, and completing the top 5 so far is Grenady on 9 points. So we head onto map number 2, which is going to be Switch Bridge by Firestorm. Map 2 of this second step Map 2 of this third step of the Open Grand League Fall 2020 season is going to be Switch Bridge by Firestorm. Fastest lap 110.492 made by Panda, also from Stage 1. This is potentially the last chance to get a new OGL lap record on this map, very much like on Halfpipe, where it didn't happen. Grenady still remains credited with the fastest lap overall, the lap record, shall I say, of Halfpipe. So I didn't have the chance to actually run through the identity one final time on Halfpipe, and I'm going to take the opportunity to do it on Switchbridge. So the identity here is these series of jumps, conditioned then by this small bump jump before the end. So go through the checkpoint and jump through the two poles, make an early jump through the two poles and stabilize your car. Try to avoid touching this outside pole, really, because it could sap all your speed. Land, then jump early again through the two poles as you land on the grass. Then duck down the inside of that grass turn to get as much speed as you can and straighten your trajectory. Then go for a late transition outside of both poles and land as early as possible on the dirt. Head back towards the inside of all those poles, heading into the final CP, and then go back through those two poles, and then onto the start-finish straight to cross the start-finish line and start another lap, as we see Miquacho and Tialek exemplify this. So through the two goalposts and then onto the final set of corners and across the start-finish line to start lap number 2. So Mudda, Default, and Binks, this is your top 3 so far, heading into map 2 of this third step of the Open Grand League Fall 2020 season. Cap and Grenady behind as we're heading towards the start of race 2. Here we go. And we're going to be heading back into the helicam for this start again. Following that from the virtual chase cam right here, provided by this helicopter cam, everybody managing to get a good start going through there, and then onto the first ice turn through here, through to the second CP, now onto the dirt jump clearance. Nicely done, Dark and Mudda managing in the lead. Oh, one of the first players to make a mistake is Hydra from NTP Esport, and he finds himself down the best part of 2 seconds, even 3 seconds on the lead, or 2.6 seconds as a matter of fact, heading into the CP. Mudda leading from Legu, Mimo, Junior, Grenady, Miquacho, and Default in the top 6 at the moment. Carl and Razi in the top 8 at the moment. Everybody remaining nicely grouped together on Patel 14th position, as Hugo had a bit of trouble in the worldwide and clips before the dirt, so he's forced to take the safe way through the jump and lose even more time. So Xera is the last of the lead group and touches back up to Razi, who seems to have made a mistake that I didn't catch on camera, and so he will be up into P13. Meanwhile, heading into the identity, Mudda taking the early lead in front of Dark and Binks in second and third, Carl and Default in fourth and fifth at the moment. Default currently emerging in fourth place. Mudda going through the second jump nicely. Ooh, forced a huge release and even into a touch, I think, for Dark, who is moted down to P14 as a result of that small mistake. Meanwhile, at the front, Mudda takes the lead as of lap number 1 with a 1:15.021. Binks and Default 2 and 3, Legu and Karl 4th and 5th, Cap 6th and Cholik in 7th, with Miquacho emerging into the top 8 by battling it up really firstly with Razi and Link, and as a result of this poor exit of the ice, he gets demoted down to P10 and even P11 as Grenady takes advantage of a much better exit than Miquacho. Miquacho is falling down the order. He's down in P14 as well. The last of the lead pack as Hydra and Hugo, the two MTP Esport drivers, are finding themselves tail end of the field, 15th and 16th, 7 seconds down on the leader. Meanwhile, it's a real trade that we're seeing form up behind Mudda, who's taking a bit of an escape way, trying to break away from the rest of the field. Binks tries to lead the charge to catch back up to the leader. Ooh, Default with a pretty sketchy landing, and Liggett with a slow landing as well is going to promote Carl up to P5 as a result of this. Meanwhile, Tialek and Cap having a really nice tussle for P3 just behind Binks, and tries to catch back up to Mudda, currently leading the race. Heading into the identity from the perspective of the 2006 World Champion, Super Carlouf, Dorian Valet, currently driver for Team B Genius, is looking pretty swifty through here, and he's even got a much better grass turn than Cap, and so he catches back to P4 potentially. Meanwhile, Binks has fallen to Tialek, who's managed to get back up into P2. Mudda takes the fastest lap of this race with 1:10.761. Remember, it's a 1:10.492, the lap record, so it might be a little bit worthwhile to see what sort of performance the other players have on tap in this one to take that lap record. Meanwhile, Cap and Carl, the battle rages on, and Carl with a slow exit gets even overtaken by both Legu and Default, so he might be down to P7 temporarily, as Legu had a bit of a wider exit though. He gets demoted down to P7 in his turn. Mudda, meanwhile, has really taken to the escape. He's currently pulling 1.2 seconds ahead of Tialek and Binks, battling it out for P2 at the moment, with Cap also with them battling it out for P2. A three-way fight for second position, with Default in P5, currently trailed by Super Carlouf in P6, the 2006 World Champion, again trying to make up as many places as he can to recover from a paltry start of 4 points collected on halfpipe. Cap having a bit of trouble overtaking both Binks and Tialik for second position at the moment. Let's see how this goes into the identity. Meanwhile, Mutta has really checked out out front as he's 1.1 second down up on the pursuers. Binks and Tialik emerging in the battle for P2 at the moment. Mutta looking really strong. Binks and Tialik second, third, Cap in fourth, and actually Carl taking the lead very briefly from Default for P5, and actually Cap with a slower exit is going to fall back into the clutches of Super Carlouf in P5. So yeah, it's a battle for fourth that is currently transpiring here. Cap, who was looking for a battle for second position, is now having to fend off both Default and Dark to keep his fourth place and the 10 points that come with it somewhat safe. Meanwhile, Binks and Tialik are trying to catch back up to Mutta. The leader is currently losing 2/10 as a result of the previous lap to Binks and Tialik, who are trying as much as they can to bridge the gap to the Australian, who's trying to lead this race home and get maybe some juicy 22 points again to make another Grand Slam in this race. Tialik touching the wall on the outside. That allows Binks through to second place definitively, with Default and Carl moving back up into contention for third position. Meanwhile, Cap has made a bit of a mistake. Link up into P6 also. Ooh, but Link has touched the pole really heavily into the identity, so Cap will take advantage of that, but Legu as well with a really strong entry into the identity. Carl getting left behind by the top 4 fight at the moment, and he's down in P5, falling into the clutches of Cap, who's trying to overtake Super Carlouf for P5 and trying to catch back up to that lead group. Meanwhile, Mutta has taken advantage of potentially mistakes from Binks and Default. Yeah, Binks seems to have made a mistake, and he's down in P3, currently under threat from Tialik for third position, and Mutta is now almost 2 seconds, in fact even more than 2 seconds ahead of Default in second position. 2.1 seconds in fact, as we're heading to the heli cam to see how the gaps have developed. Mimo Jr., Xerar also having made a huge mistake right there, down in last place. Mimo Jr., Razi, and Hugo de Sanva. The gaps have somewhat widened quite a bit compared to how they were at the start of the race. Mutta, you can see here, it's the lone wolf leading everyone 2.1 seconds ahead of Default and Tialik. Carl in P4, Legu and Dark in here, but also Cap, who's made a huge mistake and forced to save the platform turn, and he's down in P11. So as we head back to the pursuers' perspective, Tialik and Default battling it out for P2 at the moment, and just half a second behind them, we find Carl moving up to P4 with Legu just 3/10 behind. So yeah, pretty strong order change, with the overall leader in the ranking not faring too well at the moment, with Dark and Carl battling it out for P4, with Mutta into the final lap with a 1:10.744 as the fastest lap of the race to further cement the pace and the consistency of the Australian. He's pulling 2.8 seconds up on Default in second place. His teammate Tialik is in P3, Dark in P5, so it's looking to be a pretty good race overall for the Outer World drivers, even though none of their drivers are currently leading this race. Dark currently trying to catch back up to Super Carlouf and fight for fourth position, with Carl being left behind quite a bit by the two other Outer World drivers in front, with 0.8 of a second between Tialik and Carl at the very moment, with Default currently pulling away from his own teammates to try and secure P2. Meanwhile, Carl tries to also fend off the challenge from Dark, and tries to keep him at bay for the keeping his fourth position safe. Then quite a bit of gas. You can see Miquacho 2 seconds down on Dark, then 1 second further down we find Legu, then Link, then Grenady. The battle then behind between Binks and Razi tries to hot up as much as they tries to hot up here, but it's not really looking too good on paper, with Mutta meanwhile in the lead, finishing a full 3 seconds ahead of Tialik in second position, battling it out with Default. Tialik will take second place in front of his teammate Default in third, Carl finishing in P4, Dark in P5, Legu in P6, Link in P7, Grenady up into P8, Binks into P9, with Cap completing the top 10, Hugo 11th, Razi 12th, Miquacho down into 13th place after a huge mistake we'd missed, Xerar in P14, then Mimo Jr. down in P15, and then Hydra will be heading into the identity in a few seconds for P16 at the end for the French driver. So 2 consecutive wins and 2 consecutive fastest laps for Mutta, yield himself 44 points as a result of this second race at the end of the first stage of full point score without any points lost for the bottom 8. Identity crossing now for Hydra, second jump nicely done, down to the grass right here, then smooth out your landing into the dirt. Final jump through the poles, and across the start-finish line to finish in P16 at the end of the challenge for Zerar. So, 44 points at the end of Stage 1 for Mudda, who takes the clear lead with those 2 consecutive wins back-to-back with 2 back-to-back fastest laps. 26 points for Default in second, 21 for Chalik in third, Binks fourth with 17 points, and 15 points equal for Grenady and Cap in fifth and sixth, as we're heading onto map number 3 of this step, which is going to be Starglide by Link. The fastest step of the previous week is held by Super Kalif with a 1:60.640. So, Starglide, which was introduced as the final map of the previous map pack, of the previous week's map pack, should I say, characterized by an identity comprised of reactor boosts and ice slides. So let me give you a bit of a tour around through here. So, through this grass turn, through the CP, and then slow down with this engine killer right here. So freewheeling and drift a little bit to reduce your speed. Make sure you have around 135 kilometers an hour as you cross this checkpoint right here, and then you're gonna head into the identity. Get your car a bit of an angle and pitch it into this ice slide that you perform towards the end of the ramp to actually steer your car into the reactor boost, and then use the position that you sent your car in to actually smooth out the landing and go through those rings to reset and go through the checkpoint. Then repeat these 2 more times, 1 to the left and then 1 more to the right. It is pretty easy to actually get a little bit caught up and go a little bit too far deep into the ring. So when you hit the ring, you might be going a little bit too far outside like this, or even touch one of these girders here and completely mess up your landing, as you're going to be seeing the players going through here. Actually, third identity crossing, that's actually, so you can see almost a 180-degree angle as they head into the identity, into this third crossing right here, and you can see Mudda going very wide and maybe touching the girder, hence the respawns, and that could really be extremely costly if you full stop it into a one of these rings of CP, or touch a girder that completely messes up your landing at the end of it. So yeah, it is going to be extremely important to follow all of this. So, Starglide, map 3, and this is the first of 2 races with 50% point loss for the bottom 8, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. Bottom 8 lose half of their points. So after the start, it is going to be Link who takes the whole shot through the first checkpoint with Dark behind him. The 3 Underworld drivers, second, third, and fourth, as a matter of fact, with currently Mimo Jr. and Legu at the bottom end of the field, currently at the bottom 8, so not looking too good at the moment for Mimo Jr., who's had a pretty bad start to his step with only 3 points collected over the course of 2 maps. Meanwhile, Default takes the lead in front of Hugo de Soma and Mudda, currently leading the top 3, with Hydra in the top 4, battling it up really closely with Razi, Cap, and others. Heading into the grass turn, Default's trying to pull away right from the get-go and pull a gap to the leaders, but it's not easy to pull a gap directly from lap 1. Freewheel for everyone right here from the perspective of Cap. He's got a 125. He was forced to break a little bit through the turn, so he lost a bit of speed there onto the identity for Cap. Nicely pitched through the execution. No ice slide for him. Maybe a tiny bit through there for Cap for the second one, and then third one, Grenady with a huge speed advantage at the landing will actually take to the lead at the exit of this identity and lead lap 1. Razi emerging in P2, Cap, Default, and Tialek, as well as Ligu and Mudda, battling it out fiercely for third position. 120.253 for Grenady as a result of lap number 1. Razi in P2 and Default in P3, although Default has had a pretty slow corner through there, and he's down into P5 after the first checkpoint right here. Grenady and Razi battling it out really fiercely for the lead. First big mistakes apparently from Miquatro and Dark, who find themselves 5.4 and 7.5 seconds away respectively from the top 8 needed for safety. Meanwhile, also Hydra's made a mistake, so he's 2.3 seconds down, and Binks as well, 2 seconds down on the leader, on the top 8 needed for safety. Xerar is at the tail end of the leading group. Mio Jr. a bit further behind Xerar, down in P11, and you can see the positions are quite heavily changing for top 8 between Mudda, Legu, Tialek, and Link at the moment, who are going to be locked in a really super tight battle over this opening stage. Carl currently sitting in the top 5 fight at the moment, looking pretty good at the first part. Razi going uncomfortably close, I would say, to the ring in the first part of the identity. Mudda down into P9, currently managing to keep touch with the top flight, with Carl having had a really good identity through there and moving up into the lead in front of Razi Razi and Grenady. So Carl will take to the lead with a 1:15.967 to take the fastest lap for himself. The 2006 World Champion having a really strong first 2 laps in this race, with Grenady down in P3 going for the wide line here, allowing Default and Mutta to overtake him for P3 and P4 respectively, but Grenady actually takes to the fight with the Australian Penguin at the moment. Our back-to-back race winner in this step is currently looking to be safe and sound in top 8, as we had another mistake from one of the players. Hugo de Sauvin, who was in the top 8 at the one point, is down 2.2 seconds down on the leader, with Cap being the last man to be in potential contention for the top 8 as of lap number 3. He's just 1/10.5 down on Chalek, who currently holds the top 8 spot. Then Binks is a further second down in P10, Xarar in P11, and then after 2 seconds it starts to wane a little bit the chances of the players making it into the top 8. Carl, Default, and Razi, 1, 2, 3 in this order, heading into the identity, but the slow exit from Razi enables Grenady to try and catch back up to him and move up to third position. Grenady looking to have this identity really nicely dialed in, and he will move into 3rd place. And actually, Carl, with a really slow landing through there, will be demoted down into 3rd place as both Default and Grenady move past him. And Default takes the fastest lap for himself, quickly taken back by Cap, who moves through into P7 after a mistake from Chalek, enables him to move up into P8. But actually, Cap touches the outside and clips the wall, and so he will be down into P13. As a result of that, he might be at risk of losing 7 points here. For the overall leader. Meanwhile, Hugo is back within contention for the top 8. He's half a second down on Chalek at the moment, and Binks is it's not so far up the road, so there might be a P7 at stake here for Hugo, and some juicy points that might come with it. Legu in P6 trying to catch back up to Razi down in P5, who's lost quite a bit of ground to Default, Grenady, Super Kalouf, and Mutta, currently making up your top 4. Default's the Belgian trying to pull away from his peers. Grenady remaining in P2 and keeping the fight close at the moment. The wheeled player from Wavy Esports, is looking pretty good. Onto the identity we go. Let's actually spectate Mutta how he goes. Much better speed at the landing than Carl, enabling him to catch back up to him ever so slightly and may be able to potentially make a move for 3rd position. Whoa, that landing is really sketchy from Mutta, and all that work has come undone. Razi blasting past him, and Legu also overtaking him before even the start-finish straight. So yeah, Mutta down in P6 in the space of a few corners. Meanwhile, Default still in the lead, half a second up now on Grenady in P2, and Carl in P3 trying to overtake with an inner line. Not really paying off so far. Grenady remaining in P2. As we're going to head back to the helicount to see how the gaps have developed over the course of the entire field. Link down in P14, Miquacho and Dark in P15 and 16. Dark crossing the start-finish line now to start his lap. Not looking any good so far. Jolly currently the biggest point scorer to potentially lose points in this race. He's currently 1 second down, and he was 1.1 second down, and he got overtaken by Xarar for P9 at the moment. Xarar with 11 points. Meanwhile, Dark 14, Cap 15 points, and Link 11 points. Meanwhile, towards the front of the field, well, in the bottom 8, we're currently finding off for P7 here between Hugo and Binks, with Grenady up in 6, actually down in 6. What happened to the wheel player? He's down quite a bit. He must have made a mistake that I didn't catch on camera, or maybe that I didn't follow on the handycam. That allows Default to have an 8-10 gap to Super Kalouf in 2nd place. So it's Belgium leading front, and then Croatia with Razi up into 3rd place. Hugo has made a huge mistake battling it off against Binks for said 7th place, and he's down in P13 just like that. Xarar up into P8, and Chalek also in contention for that top 8 position heading into the final lap. Default pulling away quite a bit from Carl. 1.1 second ahead of 2nd place Super Kalouf, then 3rd place for Razi, half a second down on Carl, then Legu in P4. So far, the 1X Esport driver looking to have a pretty solid outing, solid first outing under his new colors in this step, with apparently Mutta just behind him in P5. The step leader looking pretty good on paper as well. He might be set to retain his step lead at the end of this race if he is able to keep it in the top 8. Unless Default takes the fastest lap. It's going to have to come down to Default to actually put down the fastest lap of his life here on Starglide to take the 2 points that come with it and potentially move through to the lead of the step as the exit of this identity, and then the final lap Dauphin looking pretty solid out here, and it seems as though he's got the race in the bag and has not made any mistakes. He's not put a foot wrong, the Auto World driver, and so he will take the race win in front of Carl in P2, and Razi will complete the top 3 happily. Nice result for Dauphin. Carl taking the fastest lap of the race at the last minute. Mudda in P4, Grenady P5, Legu P6, Binks and Mimo Jr. emerging in the top 8 at last. Xerar in P9, Cap in P10, Hydra in 11th, Chalik making a last grasp mistake. Hugo 12th, Link 13th, and Chalik down in P14th as a result of that. Miquatro will be finishing in P15 with Dark finishing in last place. So, as I said, Super Kalouf taking the fastest lap of the race at the final lap with a 1:15.724, not beating his previous week's lap record with a 1:15.640. So, the lap record is still to his credit. Dark finishing in P16. So as a result of race 3, halfway through the step, we're finding that Mudda is still leading the charts with 54 points, 46 for Dauphin, who is in second place. Super Kalouf moving up to third with 30 points, 24 points equal for Grenady, Biggs in P4 and P5, Razi in P6, Leguer and Chalik completing the top 8 as we head on to map number 4, which is going to be Hoverboard by Tona. So here we go. Map 4 is Tona's Hoverboard. Fastest lap the previous week. Actually, we don't have the fastest lap of the previous week. I completely forgot to mention that, but because those are some quite reusable lower thirds. Actually, let me check back in a second. Oh, I knew I had it. There you go. So, Hoverboard by Tona, 1:15.767. Super Kalouf has the fastest lap on this again. So, midway maps are looking pretty solid for the 2006 World Champion heading into this step. Currently sitting in third place with 30 points, Super Kalouf. Mudda leading the charts with 54 points and 46 for Dauphin, just 8 points behind the Australian. Grenady in P4 and Binks in P5 with the same amount of points, and with some of the contenders out there such as Cap down in P9 with 13 points and Link down in P12 with 9 points, and even forgot to mention that with some of the contenders that were there in the previous weeks, such as NR, are not part of the top 16 fights, then it will be really interesting for some people to actually grab their points and try to make it into the set top 8. So this identity here, as we're going to be seeing the perspective of Link here, is really a carnage inducing. So condition that the private park conditions, but then no steer, and then get back the steering at the reactor boost section and keep it in the center of those 3 platforms through the signs to make it through to the other side by using the glide effect to gain speed and across the start finish line to start another lap. So heading back to the helicam for this start of the race. Map 4 is underway. Everybody taking the booster to gain some additional speed to move up to 290 kilometers an hour before crossing the first checkpoint, and Mimo Jr. touching the inside of the checkpoint, so he's already finding himself down 8/10 to 1 second down on the top 8 needed for safety. Dark currently Super Kalouf leading at the tail end of the lead pack at the moment, going through the Lego block jump, as I like to call it, because they kind of look like Lego blocks overhead with the top down with the pillars. Onto the dirt wall, right? Go high and then duck low really late to move through to the ice rink section. Line up yourself nicely and then straighten your car to keep as much speed as you can. 320 kilometers an hour for Super Kalouf at the exit of this ice rink section. Then small road until the grass wall ride. Keep your car at an angle to keep it high, and then duck at the last minute again to keep your airtime as low as possible at the exit of this wall ride onto the dirt. Gently come across the to the other side of the road. Then this part is really important. Exit nicely from the dirt. Then start your drift here pretty early for this hairpin turn. Get a good exit from there. Get around 230 kilometers an hour to clear the slow-mo block. Little drift at the landing to go through the corner, and then the identity from the perspective of Super Kalouf. Slight angle, and then make slight corrections to move through the identity and come across the start finish line safely. Safely was not really how that happened to well, Chalik made it through, but he failed right at the first CP. But Binks and Hydra are pretty far down in 15 and 16 and forced to respawn 2 times at the identity, as a matter of fact, and they find themselves 9.5 seconds down on the top 8 needed for safety. Currently held by Carl, battling it out with Link to keep it that 8th place. Meanwhile, at the front, it is Hugo de Saint-Van in front of Mora and Legu, the MTP Esport driver, trying to pull away from the rest of the field, heading into the ice rink nicely through there. Mora going maybe a little bit too high, dropping a bit to his feet as a result of that small move. Cap moving up into contention for the top 2 battle at the moment, with Legu and Mora following him closely into the grass wall ride. Razi, Link, and Dark completing the top 8. Carl having dropped a few places actually to Dark, Link, and Zerar. Zerar currently looking to fend off the attacks of the 2006 World Champion to keep P9 in the books. Dofalt, the step leader, down in P11, so not a good start, not a good entry lap for Dofalt in this race. Meanwhile, heading towards the front, Hugo, Legu, and Grenady actually in 1, 2, 3. Grenady moving up to 3rd place as we head on to the identity for the 2nd time in this. Oh, Legu going too far to the right, hit the sign, and he is forced to respawn it, and he will find himself down in P10 as a result of that. Carl having made a mistake at the identity as well, so yeah, already 7 million people having made huge mistakes at the identity or somewhere near it, and they all find themselves down some 4 seconds down on the top 8 needed for safety, currently held by Mi Quattro, the Flying Finn, currently being caught up by trying to be caught up by Tialik down in last place. Actually, Cap has made a mistake at the before the dirt section, so yeah, Cap is down in P9 and at risk of losing even more points than in the previous one. Carl has the most to lose though. He's got 30 points on the board, and that could mean minus 15 points at the end of this step if he's not able to catch back up. Meanwhile, in the lead, Hugo in front of Mada 1 and 2, then Razi in P3, Grenady P4, Link and Dofalt 5th and 6th. Mi Quattro and Tialik battling it out for P7 at the moment. Tialik currently completing the top 8, and then Cap 2.6 seconds down on Tialik and Mi Quattro for that safety, for that nice safe harbor of the top 8. Meanwhile, towards the front, we're heading into the identity for the 3rd time in this race. We're at the halfway point of this 4th race of the step. Oh, Link going too far left. He's forced to respawn, and that's going to be 1 man further down the order. Dofalt taking the advantage of that. Link into P8, and actually still remaining in P8, but he's had a pretty rocky exit, and he's down into P9 as Cap blasts by him. 7 seconds down on the leader, albeit, but he still finds himself in the top 8. He's got 1 second to Link in the 9th, then Legu and Dark are behind him, a further second behind in 10th and 11th place. Hugo looking pretty solid as at the moment, having had a pretty strong start. He manages to not put a foot wrong and keep everyone else at bay. Mada not even able to have any response to the pace of the MTP Esport driver, currently sitting 6 tenths down on the Frenchman. Then further 3 tenths down we find Razi in P3. Then Grenady in P4 with his trusty Sidewinder wheel is 1.9 seconds down on Hugo in P4. Dofalt, Mi Quattro, Tialik, and Cap complete your top 8 so far, but Cap is not too safe from the bottom 8 at the moment, as Legu is trying to catch him back up to challenge for 8th place. Meanwhile, at the front, 4th identity crossing for the leaders, and we're going to be following the perspective of Razi here. Razi going really towards the left side. Oh, Hugo, the leader has faltered. Oh, actually, he manages to cross it through. No, he's turtled. He's forced to respawn, and so the leader, 4 laps in, was looking so good, and it all came undone, allowing Legu to move through into the top 8, and now the battle is on for the top 8 as well, as Dark and Link are not too far behind him. So yeah, bad move from Hugo, who falls from 1st to 13th, and Razi inherits the lead in front of Mada, who's trying to catch back up to him, as it seems that Razi had a super good identity compared to Mada and allows him to overtake the Australian to the lead. Grenady up into P3, Mi Quattro P4, Dofalt, Tialik, Cap, and Legu in the top 8 at the moment, but Legu is far from safe. Look at Dark. He's less than 2 tenths behind the 1XG Sport driver in 8th place at the moment. The Team Ultra-World driver trying to make it so that all 3 Underworld drivers are in the top 8, but it's not going to be pretty arduous to fight off against Legu, a really fast player on his own, formerly part of Team Versatility, now part of 1X Esport. As of today, flying their colors for the first time in this Open Grand League step. Meanwhile, back at the front, Grenady 1.8 seconds down on the leader, which is currently Razi, 4 tenths up on Mada in P2. Let's actually see the identity. 5th crossing for the identity. Razi not putting a foot wrong again and crossing the identity pretty much perfectly. That's a 5 out of 6. Will he make it 6 out of 6, or would that be a mistake? Only one way to find out. Mudda in P2, Grenade in P3, and actually a huge mistake from Cap, who's forced to respawn it at the Identity, and he's down in P12. He's gonna have to catch back up quite a bit. He's got 3 seconds to catch up to Dark in P8, unless a mistake happens on behalf of the Team Outer World player. It might seem like mission impossible, but actually Lego makes a huge mistake and he's down in P8 as at his present moment here with his teammate up next. Zero 1.2 seconds down on his new teammate in the form of Legu. Hugo, Binks, and Cap are following behind him, so you can see Cap can see Legu. So yeah, top 8 is definitely at stake for Cap, and it might be such a fail to actually get that top 8. Meanwhile, Razi, Mudda, and Gritty is still leading, but Razi getting reeled in slowly but surely by Mudda, who's now within 2/10 of the Croatian player from Loud Esport for the lead here. Final Identity crossing coming up in a few seconds. 232 to cross the slow-mo block over the jump. But Razi manages to keep it all together and keep the lead. Let's actually see the Identity. Mudda going a bit more towards the left than Razi, and Razi will win the race. Mudda in P2, Grenady finishing in 3rd place, Chalik 4th, Dofal 5th, Miquatro 6th, Dark in P7, and Legu, let's actually see how he goes. He will manage to get the top 8. Hugo will finish in P9 after a superb recovery drive despite the early lead. Binks in P10, Xara 11th, Cap in 12th, Link in 13th, Carl in P14, so he loses 15 points on the spot. Hydra will be finishing in P16 actually, as Mimo Jr. managed to cross the Identity before him. P15 for Mimo Jr. and P16 for Hydra, unless he doesn't manage to make it. He's going to be forced to respawn. Remember, he has all the time in the world to get himself into the... But he actually going to try to do the reverse one, but not able to actually quite make it. So Razi taking his first win of the step after having had a pretty rough start to his point scoring campaign. Hydra this time deciding to come across the Identity, or not quite. We'll be back after Hydra crosses the Identity, which happens to be right now. So, after 4 maps and 2 stages, Mudda leads the step with 68 points, 13 points ahead of Default in 2nd place with 55, with Razi completing the top 3 with 42. Grenady, Legu, Chalik, Super Kaluf, and Binks complete your top 8. Then at the bottom half of the scoreboard, Dark, Miquatro, Cap, Xerar, Link, Hugo, Mimo Jr., and Hydra complete the leaderboard. We are back with the Open Grand League's Step 3, and we're heading into the final stage with the 2 final maps left to be played. The first one we're going to be playing is this one, Paradise by Table. The Identity is comprised of 2 ice U-turns that are pretty visible in the middle of your screen. First part of the Identity is this free will U-turn, so coasting through to the checkpoint, and then this first one, you have 2 choices. Either go really high and then dive low at the last minute, or do a upwards 180 and then try to land it and make it stick at the other end, and make sure to do the to actually stick the landing on the other one, with this Identity being particularly important. Be in the top 8 or else lose all your points. It is the start of the final 2 races. Map 5, Paradise by Table is our first venue, with currently Chalik making a huge mistake already, so that might be 24 points down the drain. Xerar being left out after the dirt section, and then currently the lead pack being tailed off by Legu and Mimo Jr. heading into the jump. Binks, Carl, and Dark 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Second jump nicely clear from pretty much everyone in the top field. Link having a bit of a rocky time. Razi having a rocky time as well. Almost touching the outside wall. Down in P13, P14 with Default creeping in, trying to overtake the Croatian for the benefit of P13 as we're heading back towards the lead pack. Binks trying to pull away from Hugo, Mudda, Dark, and Super Kaluf in the top 5. Legu, Miquatro, and Cap in the top 8. Cap trying to keep that top 8, making that top 8 6. This is where it all counts. Remember, bottom 8 will lose all of their points before scoring the points from the finishing position on this map. Mimo overtaking everyone in the with the inside line into this free will drift. But now we are heading onto the Identity. Free will U-turn, coast to the line here, then onto the first U-turn. So here Cap goes really high and then brakes at the apex of the U-turn to actually dive low at the last second and try to keep as low over the line as possible heading into the finish. But it doesn't seem to have paid off all that much for Cap. He's currently finding himself down in P7 with, actually, Mi4 having made a mistake, so he's down in P8. Meanwhile, Mata half a second down on the top 8 needed for safety. There's a lot at stake for the Australian as 68 points could be very well and truly thrown down the drain for the Step 2 winner, with Razi battling with Charlie for P10 at the moment, which could transpire for a top 8 fight if everything remains close. And Cap has completely missed up the jump, and he's down in P14 after that huge bonk, and he will be even down in P15 as Legu overtakes him. Xeor is just the last man left in there. So, as I said, this could have transpired to a top 8 battle. Well, it is transpiring into a top 8 battle right now. Tialik and Razi in 9th and 10th at the moment are less than a second behind Mutta, currently holding top 8, but not by much. And currently trying to climb up the leaderboard, trying to make a move on Mi4, making it stick for now. Now, next step ahead is the 2006 World Champion Super Carlo, for actually a pretty weird, tight line through there from Mata, forcing him to release a little bit. Allows Mi4 to move through into P7 and trying to catch back up to the lead pack. Meanwhile, Hugo de Soma has taken quite a bit of a lead to compared to Dofalt, so quite the philosophy change here between Hugo and Dofalt. Dofalt goes for the upward spin turn on the first identity, whilst Hugo goes really high and then dives in the last second, whilst Dofalt then tries to actually do the exact same strat as Hugo on the second identity. So yeah, pretty interesting philosophy for crossing it. Meanwhile, Grenady has seemed to have made a mistake, so he's down in P9, 7/10 down on the top 8 needed for safety. Currently in the fierce contention between Mata, Mi4, and Tialik. Mata currently finding himself in P6, and Mi4 and Tialik within each other, wheel to wheel at the moment action, and Tialik almost messing up the jump. Meanwhile, Link, who was in the top 8, has made a huge mistake. He's down in P12. Nemo Jr. could be the last one to feasibly be in contention for top 8 standings and try to actually make some big points losses for some of these players. Razi is down in P10, 1.5 seconds down on top 8, currently held by Grenady. Meanwhile, at the front, Hugo still holding a 1.1 second advantage to Dofalt in P2, with Carl up into P3, Dark and Mutta in P4 and P5. Dark currently trying to take the challenge to Super Kaluf to move up into 3rd position, heading into the first free roll turn. Nice and tight line. Oh, Hugo has made a huge topic at the free wheel section, and so he will be down in P6. He was leading the race heading into lap 3, and he will exit lap 3 in 6th position if everything goes like this, in P7 actually, with Dark, Dofalt, and Carl having all sorts of different crossings of the identity. Grenady also even challenging for top 8. Jalik, oh, what happened to... was that Mutta? No, it wasn't Mutta. It was me. Who was it? Who was it actually? I completely messed up. Tialik and Hugo. He was Hugo who clipped the CP into lap 4. He's down in P11. Binks and Mimo Jr. also in contention to get into top 8 as Razi re-emerges back into said top 8. Tialik in P7, Grenady and Mi4 battling for P5, Mutta up into P4 with Dark and Carl. That battle has been promoted to the battle for the lead as Dofalt has lost quite a bit of speed and lost a few places as a result of that. Carl in 1st, Dofalt in 2nd, and Dark in 3rd at the moment, heading into the negative camber dirt turn where you have to be careful not to go too high to not get any airtime at the exit of all this. Onto the jump, Carl leading by 2/10 from Dark, and Dofalt in 3rd place, half a second down on the leader. Then a further 8/10 down we find Mutta, currently looking to be safe in P4. He has 2 and a bit laps to go if he wants to really be extra safe and actually be sure of keeping those 68 points on the board and then score some more points with that result of 4th place, which would yield him 10 points, which will make that tally of 78. Legu, meanwhile, has the fastest lap of the race. Legu finding himself down in P11, potentially with a fight for P8 on his hands. 124.424, the fastest lap so far for Legu. Currently heading into the identity. Mi4 Grenady crossing it really nicely through here. Legu managing to get it as well, actually much faster than Binks, and that's going to allow the 1x Sport driver to move up to P10 at the exit of the set identity, heading into the penultimate lap. 125.001 was the fastest lap on lap number, the fastest man on track for Hugo on lap number 4 with 1 DNF. We haven't had a DNF in 5 maps, and here's the first one to report, that of Hydra from Team MTP Esport. He is out of it and will lose the 4 points that he has accumulated so far. Meanwhile, back up in front, Dark, having made a mistake, has gotten overtaken by Mutta and demoted down to P4. Tialik battling with Legu for P9. Legu overtaking Celik for P9, and Celik trying to rally back up to the top 8 finish. Actually, it was a mistake from Mimo Jr., I think it was, who is down in P14 at the moment, overtaken by Cap, although that might be of little importance as everyone will lose their points. Razi and Hugo in P7 and P8, then a little bit further behind, 7/10 behind, we find Legu in P9, who is in with a shout of actually getting into the top 8 and getting and keeping those 24 points, as Dofal has made a mistake touching the inside wall at the exit, just before the checkpoint at the exit of this free wheel turn. Moda moving up to P2 as a result of this mistake by Dofal, and actually even more mistakes creeping in. P5 now, P6 for Dofal. Will he have any be able to pull off the strat? Yes, he will. Keeping up with Grenady for P4. Actually, Grenady with a slow exit will allow Dofal to move through P5, sorry, on the German. And heading into the final lap, we might be seeing even closer fights than we thought we would have. Celik and Razi battling for P7, but most importantly, Legu is just behind him in P9. So yeah, this could transpire to an intense battle for the top 8, with Razi being the one with everything to lose here. He's got 42 points that are on the line as a result of his really strong steps so far in this Open Grand League. Meanwhile, at the front, Carl moving to a second ahead of Mudda in P2, Dark in P3. Tofal has made another huge mistake again. There's also a lot on the line for the Belgian. 55 points are on the line. He's down in P11. He's 4 seconds down. It might very well be game over at this point for the Otherworld driver, who was sitting in second in the standings. Legu and Link are battling with for P8 right now. Legu currently 24 points at stake, and he's trying to keep them as much as he can. Meanwhile, Razi and Celik are further up in the safe zone, although Link is trying to make as much inroads as he can on Legu, trying to overtake and trying to make a move stick. It doesn't work so far. Now heading into the final crossing the identity, Carl has opened up the gap to 1.3 seconds on Mudda, and then Mudda further second down. We find Dark in P3, heading into the identity for the final time from the perspective of the leader. Carl trying to save it, trying to be conservative. Oh, that's a slow exit that could potentially allow Mudda to. Not quite. I think it might be onto the final one where Mudda could try to make something shine, but no, Carl will win the map here in front of Mudda in P2 and Dark in P3. Grenady up into P4, actually Grenady 4th, Razi 5th. Legu System quarter 7th, Celik in P8, and Link will lose 10 points, Dofal will lose 55, Binks will lose 17, Mimo Jr. will lose 7, Hugo will lose 9, Cap will lose 11 points, and then Xerar has quite a bit to go actually. He's made a huge mistake. He's 63 seconds down on top 8, a full minute behind Celik, and so he will be finishing in P15, the last of the finishers, with Hydra not scoring any points. So yeah, 4 points down the drain for Hydra, and no points to actually make up for it. So yeah, pretty huge, pretty big disappointment, I would imagine, for the NTP Esport driver. 82 points that will yield the lead of the stage a step again for Mudda in P1, and Dofal will be plummeting down to P10 as a result of that 10th place finish in Paradise by table, losing all of his 55 points that he had accumulated so far, and even Binks falling out of the top 8 as a result of his paltry finish of P11, only collecting 4 points. And so as a result of that, Mudda still retains the lead with 82 points to his credit in first place, 51 for Razi, who moves up to second, Grenady up to third with 46, 38 for Super Kaluf in fourth, and 34 for Legu in P5 as we're heading into the 6th and final map. This is it, the final hurdle for everyone to clear, the final race, the final map to play, the second new map in this step 3 of the Open Grand League, and it is Cyclone by Firestorm. This one, everything is on the line, especially for the leader. Mudda, very much in a similar situation to Carl Jr. in the Track Media Grand League, heads into this final race of the step with 82 points on the board, and in with a shot of actually getting a really significant victory in this step. Razi in second place with 51 and Grenady third with 46. Heading into the first ice rink section here, which is really important. Go high, keep your car angle to keep it high, then duck at the last minute to initiate the ice slide, and make sure to keep the ice slide as much as you can. If you lose the ice slide midway through the corner, you're going to be heading into the wall, and it's pretty much going to be game over if you do not manage to get it right. Then follows this small section, including a platform jump, then go round both poles with a little drift at the landing here. Then the final section coming up on this map with a few technical turns to navigate through. The final drifting turn to the left before heading into the identity, which is this final section here. Make sure to actually start high and actually control your descent really nicely and avoid going back up, very much like Hydra is doing, and actually try to keep it within the lines of the lower part, and then straighten your car in and settle your car into position for crossing the start-finish line and start another lap. So, sixth and final race, the final hurdle for potentially a second step win in a row for the Australian Penguin. Mutta might be in with a shot at taking the lead of the Grand League. Cap is down in 14th place with 3 points, so could potentially be a really good opportunity for the Australian to move through into the lead. Miquacho currently heading into the lead of the field at the result of checkpoint number 3, heading into the grass part. Dofal, Dark, and Xerar at the bottom 3 positions at the moment. Carl and Miquacho emerging in the lead in front of Link, Mutta, and Tialik, as we're heading back into the POV of Binks from Team Exalti at the moment, down in 11th place with P4 with 4 points to his credit, heading into the first ice rink part. Go high, as I said, keep your car on an angle to keep it high, and then duck at the last minute for the ice slide. Who will actually get it? Who will get any stops? Ooh, it seems that we had a bit of a stop from one of the MTPs4 drivers. Oh, actually, what happened to Mutta? He touched the inside at the exit of the ice rink, and so he finds himself down behind Hydra. So that's P11 at the start of the first lap. So there might be the start of the problems for Mutta heading into the final map. Meanwhile, Mimo Jr. is towards the lead of the race. He's got 3 points, nothing to lose, and he tries to prove that he actually can perform really decently here on this final map. Heading into the identity from the perspective of Super Carlouf. Carl looking pretty good so far, with keeping a nice and easy line through there, and leading the race in front of Lincoln Tialik as a result of the start-finish line with a 117.366, the fastest lap for the Frenchman. As I said from the step leader, the very first mistake was on his behalf at the exit of the ice rink toward touching the wall on the outside, as the wheels failed to regain grip as quickly as he would have thought they would, and so sliding him towards the wall. But he has still got everything under control. Well, under control. He's got all the cards to actually perform well. Cap is in P8, and he's right ahead of him, so he still has quite a bit on his hands. Carl and Link 1 and 2, Tialik in P3 going a bit lower than these two. Carl going for a really nice and low line through there, and keeping a really nice inside line of the exit, keeping himself in the lead. Miquacho making another mistake here, dropping down to P11 as Cap got overtaken by Mutta. Mutta overtaking Binks to move through into P8. Again, there are quite a few position up for grabs here with Hydra, Dofalt, and Mimo Jr. alongside Binks to contend with. So yeah, this is going to be a tense top 8 battle once again. Carl and Tialik in 1 and 2, Tialik overtaking Link for P2. Hugo in P4 at the moment, going really low. He might be a bit in trouble at the exit of this. He might head into the... he could have headed into the start-finish line if he was not too careful. Mutta taking the fastest step of the race, emerging back into top 5 as we had a mistake from another man. Grenady is down in 13th place with 46 points on the line for the German. What's looking like his really good step could really unravel on this final map as we're heading into lap 3. Carl and Tialik first and second, Hugo third, Link in P4, as Warazi currently finds himself down in P13. Some big point scorers down in the bottom 8. 46 points for Grenady, 51 for Razi, 34 for Legi, which is nothing to scoff at. And currently Mutta trying his best to keep those points alive. So far doing the job, and currently looking safe in 6th position, actually 7th position, as Mimo Jr. tries to make an overtake. And actually a slow exit from Binks, and Mimo Jr. allows Mutta to move back into P5, and Link has a pretty rocky time and loses a lot of speed through there and moves Mutta up into P4. And so Mutta might be in with a shot of the podium towards the end of lap 3, with Link trying to catch back up to him nonetheless. Actually, Hydra down to 15th place with 0 points. We'll try to get at least some points on the board for his first appearance in the top 16. Actually, Chalik, with a really good identity compared to Carl, has moved through into the league. The Outer World driver looking to actually upstage the 2006 World Champion on this particular map. You go up into P3, 112.726. Wow, within 6,000ths of the fastest up of the race. Mudda looking pretty consistent so far, trying to fend off the challenge of Link for P4. Then Binks a further bit behind, trying to catch up to his teammate to try and challenge for P4. Then Mimo Jr. and Dofal battling out for top 8. Cap 1.1 second behind them in 9th position. Then Mi4, Grenady, Razi, Dark, and Legu down in 10th to 14th respectively in quite big gaps. So Legu might be out of it. Dark and Razi might be completely out of it. There might still be a chance for Mi4 and Grenady, but they're gonna have to really turn up the wick here and try to actually make some progress. Hugo has lost a bit of speed to Link. He's lost a fair bit of speed to Binks and to Mudda as well, so he drops from 3rd to actually 5th position as he manages to retain Mudda. And actually Carl drops a further few places as Link overtakes him for P3. Chalik meanwhile has pulled a 1.5 seconds of a gap between himself and Link in 2nd place. The top 6 battle within 2 seconds, and especially the top 2 battle within around 7/10, with Link currently leading the charge and actually trying to pull away from Hugo in P3. Mudda back up to P4, overtaking both Binks and Super Karlouf, but the battle still rages on. Look at that battle for 4th place. Mudda, Binks, and Super Karlouf within each other. 112.647 for Grenady, meanwhile, in P10. Trying to catch back up. He knows, actually, that there's Mimic, Junior, and Cap, but he full stop fixes into the CP. That might be game over once and for all for Grenady in this step. Meanwhile, Cap tries to catch back up to Mimo Jr. and actually trying to overtake him for P8 just for the principle. Dofalt in P7 trying to fend off the attacks of Mimo Jr. And then this battle for 3rd place actually with Mudda, Binks, Hugo, and Super Karlouf just behind, with Link not so far up the road in P2. Chalik still looking pretty solid in the lead, 1.5 seconds in front of Hugo, who's got a really solid ice strength through there. Hugo moving up to P2 with Link in P3 trying to fend off the challenge of Mudda. Penultimate identity crossing then for the leader, which is currently Chalik. Cap moving up into P8 as I speak. Mudda challenging for P3 at the moment, with Link managing to overtake him before the identity. Who's gonna go the lowest? It seems as though everybody managing to keep fairly safe through there. And actually a huge mistake from Binks, who's down in P5, and actually Link also, it was Link who made the mistake, and he's down in P7 after Dofalt overtakes him. Meanwhile, Mudda up to P3 should be in with a shout, actually keeping those points alive on the final lap of the race. 1:12.477, the fastest lap for Chalik, our leader, 1.6 seconds ahead of Hugo de Sama. Chalik having had a pretty rough start to the season with two really lackluster steps, in his own words, is looking to actually turn the tables and try to recover from that poor start of the season. It seems as though he's looking to make some really good progress here as he takes towards the second half of the track, 1.4 seconds ahead of Hugo in 2nd place. Carl and Mudda moving up into P3 and P4 as Link made a further mistake. Actually, Cap has made a huge mistake as well, so he gets overtaken by Mimo Jr. and Dark, although Dark might be a bit too far down on the top 8 needed for safety. So yeah, Mimo Jr. will be finishing in the top 8 in the end of it. Hugo de 120 into the identity with Chalik ahead of him, 1.6 seconds further up ahead. Chalik will win the race and the fastest lap to whip with 1:12.380. Hugo de 120 in P2, Carl in P3, Mudda finishing in P4, Binks P5, Link P6, Dofalt 7th, and Mimo Jr. completing the top 8. 27 points lost for Dark finishing in P9. Then Grenady will lose 46 points with P10, Razi 51 points with P11, 44 points lost for Legu in P12, Cap 13th, Mi4 14th losing 21 points, Xerma will finish in P15 and lose those 2 points. Hydra will get a point on the board. We're finishing in P16 if he manages to do it. Hydra coming towards the identity, the final part of the race here for the Frenchman, and he will cross the line and get a point score in P16. So Mudda will win the step with 92 points to his credit at the end of it all. Then, with a shocking turn of events, it is going to be Super Karlouf moving through into 2nd place as a result of that with 52. Actually, Chalik for 2 points with that step win and that race win, and the fastest lap will snipe Super Karlouf for 2nd place. Carl will complete the top 3 with 50 points in this step. Following then are Hugo, Binks, Link, Dofalt, and Mimo Jr. for the top 8. Dark, Grenady, Razi, Legu, Cap, Mi4, Xerar, and Hydra will complete your top 16. After all matches were played and points have been added up, here's how the leaderboard looks like halfway through the season. Mudda thus takes the lead of the Open Grand League standings with 29,200 points. Tianlik moves up to second place with 28,935, with Super Karluf completing the top 3 with 28,265. Link comes up into P4, Cap moves down the lead down to 5th place after his poor performance in Step 3, Dark into 6th position with Hugo in 7th place and Dofalt completing the top 8. 9th place for Legu with 26,930 points. Then following him are Razi in P10, Grenady in P11, Banks in 12th, and their 13th, Mikwato 14th, Skandir and Mimo Jr. complete the top 16.